Hello! Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. My name is Jon Orana and of course we have here si Josel Gaston and we are from Negosyo U Radio. This is our very first nating episode, right Josel?
Magandang umaga, John. Right. This is the first episode of Negosyo U Radio.
Yeah. And hopefully it's our attempt to really give value sa ating pong marketplace, especially sa mga entrepreneurs. Siguro specifically, Josel, sa mga coaches at yung mga aspiring coaches out there. And again, through this podcast, it excites you, it gives you more meaning sa mga coaches natin and for those, again, aspiring coaches. Josel, pakilala ka muna real quick dun sa mga first time to hear about you.
Maraming salamat, John, for inviting me to be part of this amazing show. And it's going to be amazing, and I assure you that, because people are seeking out coaches currently. Mm-hmm. My name is Josel Gaston. I am also a podcaster from previous podcasts that I was able to produce and host. And I'm happy to be here with you today, especially with my good friend and coach, Jon Orana, in this maiden episode of Negosyo U Radio.
Oh, di ba? Parang big time talaga. And our goal is for this podcast to be the number one business podcast in the Philippines.
Oh, yeah, move over. Yes, move over, Joe Rogan. We will run after your
Who knows, di ba? Parang, yeah, so I'm very excited with this one dahil I tried to do some podcast before. Normally, ako lang mag-isa and, walang kausap, walang kabatuhan, so to speak. So, and hopefully, for those, anyone who will be listening to us, continue to follow us if we will be publishing this in several podcast platform, obviously, right, Giselle?
Definitely.
Sa Spotify, we will also be publishing this probably on our YouTube channel as well. So please, do not hesitate to subscribe. And again, hopefully that you stick with us. And right, Giselle?
Tama si John. We will be in all the available podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, most importantly, and all the other podcast platforms and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
There you go. All right. So today, ang pag-uusapan natin specifically, and I think I will even say, Giselle, I think, in my opinion, that yung definition and what is a coach is and what is the definition of a coach is, which I really believe, relatively speaking, in terms of business side, marami pa ring Filipinos are confused what it is, and also because they don't know what it is, they also miss the opportunity to get a mentor or coach, or also miss an opportunity to possibly become a coach. Siguro maybe, Giselle, for anyone na nakikinig ngayon, maybe simulan mo na muna ron.
It's great you mentioned that, Coach John, kasi the word itself, the history, the etymology of the word coach came from this historical fact. In the mid-1550s, or in 1550s, that was the 16th century, there was a town in Hungary. The capital of Hungary is Budapest. But the small town in Hungary, it's called Koksi. You can Google this. Don't take my word for it. Koksi. Koksi, depending on how you pronounce it. I haven't looked up how to pronounce it. But that small town was able to produce a carriage, karwahe sa Tagalog. Yung nagdadala ng tao, hinihila ng kabayo or other animals that can carry people and bring people to several places. Yung carriage na yun became so revolutionary because it was comfortable. It brought people from one place to another at a faster speed because of its lightness and its comfort when you bring people from one place to another. Koksi, and started that word. In the English sense, it was called coach. Okay. Or in German, it was called Kutsche. I don't know how I'm pronouncing it right. Now, what's interesting is that towards the 19th century or the 18th century, people started to use the word as a metaphor for teachers. Sa education siya nagsimula. These teachers were able to bring students from one place to another where they have to take exams. Kasi yung exams na nasa venue eh.
Okay.
So these teachers brought these pupils that they tutored from one place to another, which means from this place to that examination venue. And towards, no, as they say, the rest was history. Towards the several centuries that followed, people realized that they used now that word that referred to a person. From
Okay.
coach na karwahe,
That's
it
right.
became that coach, a person that comfortably and in a fast, efficient way brought that person from this place to their goal, their destination.
Yun.
So, galing, di ba, John? Kasi
That's
pag
right.
sinabi mo yung coach, that person in the metaphor sense, that person, your coach that used to be a noun is now a common noun for a person that would help you achieve or get to the place you want to arrive at.
That's right.
Coach.
Yan. So bago yun. Even sa akin, guys. Ngayon ko lang nalaman yung bagay na yun. But I guess pag sinabi kasing, at least when I was starting, pagka sinabing coach, there's only one is sports and,
Yeah.
athletic, but never
Yeah.
really came up with a definition and why, right?
Interestingly, no, John,
Mm,
they used it in education first,
that's right.
but in the 19th century, they realized that teachers or those that helped athletes
That's right.
perform better were also called coaches na din in that
Mm,
sense, in the English sense. Kaya it's important that you also understand and consider getting a coach in all the things you want to do, not just
that's
business,
right.
maybe in athletics and all the other endeavors that you want to achieve.
Ayan. So there you go, guys. And,
Mhm.
sa akin, again, very valuable. And that's why Giselle and I decided to do this podcast. I guess we are both somehow benefited from a coach along the way in our
Oh,
lives, in
yeah,
business, personal, career,
definitely.
even spirituality. And again, our
Yes.
goal for these podcasts moving forward is to empower other coaches and at the same
Mhm.
time inspire naman yung mga aspiring coaches. Yeah.
That's right.
So briefly siguro I'm gonna quickly for those people lang na first time siguro marinig ang story ko ay how I started with coaching and again back in siguro over a decade ago I never thought that I would become a coach. I never really saw myself becoming a coach. But then there's this. I was in business back then. More mostly international. I'm selling to international customers and clients. Never really targeting the Philippine market. But then one day, I don't know if you know this story, Giselle, but one day I received an email
Mm.
from a Google employee. His name is
Wow.
Sander. Yeah, he's in California. Um, And then he asked advice sa akin na pagdating
Mm.
sa negosyo. I was selling into this Christian industry and apparently he's planning to also go into that market, sell product and services. And he just asked my advice about that thing. I would say
Mhm.
professionally, that was the very first time that I felt, you know what? I think this coaching thing might something that I might consider down the road.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
from there on, yun po ang nangyari. And now, eventually, naging Coach Jon Orana na tayo. At marami na po, libo na po ang ating natulungan na awa ng Diyos. But it all started with that one thing. Ikaw ba, Giselle, when you started in this, I believe you did some coaching as well. You have some a little bit of formal training here and there as well. Paano ka ba nagsimula?
Well, I've always been interested in education. After college, well, like most of us, had several jobs here and there,
That's right.
even odd jobs while supporting myself. Well,
Mm.
partly supporting myself in college. But after that, I took a job in printing and publishing
Mm.
where the interest in, printed word, mga libro, mga
Mm.
magazines, etc., all related to education because the company that I worked for was related to or doing work for educational institutions.
Okay.
And then suddenly I decided, paano kaya kung magturo ako? When I was in a client's meeting, I was presenting what we're going to print and publish for them. The principal yata yon or yung
Mm.
rector ng school said, "Why don't you teach? Have you ever tried teaching?" And
Really?
I was excited and I said, "Really? Do you think I can do it? You think pwede po akong magturo?"
Mga anong age ka noon, if you don't mind me
Oh
asking?
my God, I was 20, 25, 26, I think.
So wala kang
And
plano magturo?
wala,
Okay.
wala.
Okay,
And then she
okay.
said, I think she was a nun. Yeah, she was a nun. She
Uh-huh.
isn't. Still, buhay pa siya. And then she
Okay.
said, come tomorrow. Try teaching this.
Mhm.
So I came, I did a demo teach for about an hour. The subject is so random because they gave me Filipino literature. Maybe madaldal lang talaga ako. So I talked about this topic, this short story that I gave a lecture on.
Yeah.
And then, as they say, the rest is history. I started to teach in high school. And after that, I became a corporate trainer as well after several years and has been in corporate for quite some time until I decided to follow your path, coach, to be a coach for others as well.
Ayan. So, yeah, yung path parang somehow kung titignan mo pareho tayong somehow medyo aksidente, eh, no?
Oh, yeah.
Parang gano'n, eh, because I don't know if there's a degree for becoming a coach. I guess teacher is one.
Yeah.
But again, ay nakikita ko rito is the evolution because of the technology, the internet. Sabi ko nga, say 20 years ago, walang internet, for example. Well, meron ng internet. Pero sabihin na natin 25, 30 years ago, wala pa pong internet.
Mm.
And can you imagine if you live in a small town and then gusto mo magnegosyo?
Mm.
And wala kang masyadong connection to anyone na successful entrepreneur, then how are you going to get some coaching? Kundi, trial and error, which
That's true.
what will happen then yung business, it will be risky, so to
Mm.
speak, dahil wala ka ng kaalam-alam eh. Pero
Mm.
ngayon, you could learn like mga weird stuff and you can get coaches. Like I did a lot of research from teaching how to teach your parrot to speak. Yeah, mga weird niches talaga, from video game to witnessing, mga Christian. Like I've seen a lot of different coaches in my entire career, and it's just unbelievable because it is that powerful. And at the same time, for those na gusto namang maging coach as well, it is two things. Number one, it's a fulfilling career. Number two, it also makes good money.